So, as in many of these installations, Scott's kind of the tech guy, and Cande is the rock sculpture artiste. I end up being everybody's gopher. And one of the things I decided on this job was that I needed my van. My van typically has all of my tools and such in it, and quite often, because I've rented a truck, I end up leaving the van sitting in the truck parking lot. But in this particular case, we decided to bring the van along because there's going to be stuff inside the van that invariably I need. So I've got my van and the big truck here. And Cande is coming along on his sculpture. He's got the left-hand side started. We discussed briefly the Tunze pumps, internal pumps that go on the inside, so he's got to kind of construct around those a little bit, or at least wanted to know where I was going to place them, which my thought was about halfway up and down and a little bit towards the front. So he's now moving forward with regards to building his sculpture. And Scott is putting the overflow components into the tank before we end up sliding the tank into its cabinet. And the overflow in this case will consist of a Durzo standpipe. There'll also be the returns, which actually come out at two different points from the overflow.
So we go in with a 1-inch pipe, and then that splits off into a pair of 3/4 inch lines that then go into the dual 1/2-inch lock lines. So we're basically going 1 inch into the tank, split that out into a pair of 3/4 inch lines, which then have a 3/4 inch lock line connection that has dual 1/2 inch. So we're not adding a whole lot of friction loss by maintaining 1 inch all the way into the overflow and splitting off into a pair of 3/4 there. Jim, if you turn your light on, I can shine it down in there. So you look down in there, we've got our 1-inch line coming in, splits off into a pair of 3/4 there, into our two 3/4 inch bulkheads that have our pair of lock lines on them. So the next thing that we're going to add is our emergency drain, which will need to be up a little bit higher than the Durzo standpipe here. So that'll be the next piece to go in.
And all of that will get done before we make the final push of the tank and stand into its final position. So it's funny how things kind of turn out and then begin to snowball. Scott discovered way down at the bottom what is most likely just a drizzle of silicone. But the question is there a crack in the glass? So to determine that, the only way is to remove the bulkhead and kind of get our finger in there and see if we can rub away the silicone. I've stuck my finger down there and I think I've already rubbed it away, but as I mentioned, snowball. So now all of a sudden the nut on the back side of the bulkhead doesn't want to come off, and he's having to pound it with a hammer to get it to unthread, and that should just fly right off. So why is the nut being so difficult to come off? So obviously there's some cross threading or something going on down there. So that's where he's dealing with it right now.
There it goes. So it's not cross threaded, it's just really wonky on there. Really weird. That's what I moved it up.
That's just silicone?
That's what it seems like, Jim.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know though. It's weird. There's like one spot there. I can't take it off.
So it turns out it was just a little silicone hair that was streaked across the glass panel, giving the impression of a thin crack, but there's no crack down there. So it allowed us to reposition the Durzo and get everything nice in there. So he's a happy camper again. So the Magic Man is coming along with his sculpture. Got something interesting we've got going on here now. Using some of those branching pieces in kind of a horizontal shelf of sorts. So that looks kind of cool.
So while Jim was running to the plumbing supply place and back to his house to get some other items that were left behind, I managed to get the Apex stuff all mounted up. It's all connected to the network, so at least time wasn't a wasting. Next step is to get the plumbing done.
Okay, can you show us the Apex stuff?
Oh, we got our brain down here. Our dose mounts up here. Some screws back there. I'll have to futz with that, but that goes in there. Got our brain. Got our FMN module, which is for the leak detection. Our EB832 over there. Up top we have another EB8. A bunch of wires hanging up there. Those will go to the Kessel lights. So that'll all get cleaned up as well. And then on the other side is where our ATO tank will go. And in there we'll mount up our ATO pump. And LSM module is also up top for the lunar simulator. And that's pretty much it. So next step is to get the plumbing done and get this tank filled.
Cool. So Cande has progressed quite well on his Real Reef sculpture. It's all drilled and pinned. Interesting enough, all 5 of those boxes that we use, that's what this makes up. So apparently we were borderline enough rock, maybe not enough if we wanted it fuller. So there's lots of branchy pieces sticking out, which is pretty cool. A lot of little shelvy pieces, a lot of open cave area.
And now that the pad has been cut away and the return and drain line plumbing have been installed, we can once again attempt to slide the tank and stand as one unit into its final location inside the cabinet area.
So in addition to having what's called perimeter bracing around the top of the tank, they ended up putting perimeter bracing around the inside bottom of the tank. So that left a depression in the center, and Cande wasn't able to take that into consideration as he was assembling his rock structure. So we ended up putting egg crate in the center of the bottom to compensate for that depression, which now makes a level all the way across bottom, which now will make it easier to place all his rock on top of. So as Cande gets the rock work started, Scott is down here working on the water return pump. That's the Royal exclusive pump and its controller there in the back. Got the drain line and its manifold set up at that end with a gate valve that'll allow us to control the flow coming out of the Durzo inside the tank. I believe that is the return line, which will come across the top and down to the pump. Now he's working on the manifold for the GFO.
And as Scott drills holes in the sump for the plumbing and Cande carries in his reef sculpture, I find myself in the way, so I'll start unwrapping some of the equipment. I've recently taken quite a liking to the Bubble Magnus line of protein skimmers. I find them very effective, reliable, and quite affordable. They're also distributed here in Los Angeles, so the shipping and delivery times are very prompt. And just as a little acknowledgement for the ladies, notice that I'm actually reading the instructions. Cande has now moved the main structures of his sculpture into the tank and is now adding in smaller pieces that will mask and connect the larger pieces together, giving it structural integrity and a complete or cohesive look.
So with Scott working on connecting the apex to the various float switches and items, I just finished installing the protein skimmer and rain algae scrubber inside there. That being the rain, and Cande is, whoops, hang 10 buddy. And Cande is still working on all the rock that's inside there, which is starting to look quite impressive. A homeowner came by and he seemed quite pleased at it.
This mess here, these are our float switches in our little breakout box. We've got redundant ATO float switches, so both float switches need to work in order to activate the automatic top off. It's kind of a little fail-safe. And as an added measure of safety, these staggered float switches, this is sump too high, so if the sump is ever too high, it'll shut off the protein skimmer, it'll shut off his algae scrubber, and it'll also send an alarm. So when he's doing maintenance, it'll drive him crazy. This is sump too low, so if the sump level is ever too low, that means there's a problem with the automatic top off. And again, if the sump level is too low, it'll send him an alarm. So now we're going to mount our breakout box. These are actually attached to magnets, so we can mount them in the sump with little magnet scrubbers and adjust the level as we see fit. So, fun. We've got our extrusion here and our light mounts are mounted. We're using these probably what kind of bolts they're called right now. But the other side of the extrusion, the channel is a little bit different, so the bolts are not wanting to slide in like they should. I'm having to modify these little bolts to slide in there. That or modify the channel, which might be the next best thing. Open that up a little bit for these, whatever the hell kind of bolts they are. Can't think of it right now. But they got little square parts in there that keeps them from spinning. And then we'll have L brackets that are going to be mounted to the wall so that we can actually hang this in there. So like I said, this side, the channel's nice, and these slide back and forth like we want them to, so we can adjust them. And the Kessels will mount into these nice little articulating mounts from Aquarium LED mount, and we'll be able to angle the lights however we want. But in the meantime, gotta make these work here. Carriage bolts, yeah, that's what they're called, carriage bolts. So, we're gonna do some more modifying to them. Or I think what I'm gonna do is try to grind out the
So, your cool nano reef tank is doing great. But you've got an algae problem? Consider the drop from Santa Monica Filtration. 7 sizes to easily fit into the filter compartment of most nano tanks. And just like their bigger cousins, the Hog and the Surf, all use air bubbles and LED light technology to grow algae. Algae that consumes nutrients. And that algae replaces itself at no new cost to you. For more information on Santa Monica Filtration's Drop, Hog, and Surf algae scrubbers, visit santa-monica.cc. When you think of Tunze products, you probably think of protein skimmers, internal pumps, and submersible filters. But did you know Tunze also offers water level controllers, reverse osmosis water purification systems, pH, temperature, and ORP instrumentation? Are you aware of Tunze's full line of various filter medias and LED lighting? Have you seen Tunze's updated line of Turbel pumps, the NanoStream, the Stream, and the Master Stream, along with their controllers? In addition to their wide product line, what Tunze in Germany wants you to also see is their technology, their quality, their craftsmanship, and in particular, their people and the pride that goes into every one of their products and its assembly. Tunze, high-tech aquarium ecology. Hello, my name's Jim Stein and I operate Aquarium Design and I offer aquarium sales, installation, supplies, livestock, and aquarium maintenance in Thousand Oaks, Westlake Village, Agora Hills, Calabasas, and Malibu, California. I specialize in custom aquariums ranging from freshwater, saltwater fish, living coral reef, and jellyfish display systems. I've been involved professionally and at many levels within the aquarium industry since 1987 and have been in business for myself since 1999. I've worked for many people and some for over 20 years now. My team can provide you with a unique range of aquarium systems ranging from rectangular in-wall to freestanding cylinders, bow fronts, and custom curve shapes. Additionally, we can offer a variety of aquascapes such as an artificial coral insert, coral skeleton decorations, custom-made branching rock structures, and themed environments such as this Jules Verne version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. With today's technology in energy-efficient DC water pumps and LED lighting, operating costs are much lower. We can automate many of the maintenance features such as water replenishment, water changes, lighting schedule, including moonlight lighting, and even your general daily feedings. I can even install an app on your smartphone that will allow you to monitor, to be notified, to control, and view your aquarium anywhere in the world. If you're looking for something truly unique, give me a call and let's discuss the possibilities of creating your aquatic dream. I'm knowledgeable, insured, and very reliable. My name is Jim Stein, and you can reach me at 805-241-7140. I look forward to helping you achieve your aquatic dream. Aquarium LED Mounts manufactures revolutionary articulating mounts for the most popular LED fixtures and pendants. Their unique patent-pending design allows for full articulation of the light. You can rotate the fixture 360 degrees while also tilting it in any direction in order to maximize coverage while reducing shadowing and light bleed onto the viewing panels. They are designed to be used in conjunction with canopies, light racks, and light bars, but can also be adapted for use with light mount arms. The kit includes all the hardware needed to attach to your favorite LED fixtures. Aquarium LED Mounts offers articulating mounts for many popular fixtures, such as the GHL Mitra's LX series, Kessel 350, Kessel 360, and AP 700 fixtures, as well as Ecotex Radion, AI Hydra 52, and AI Soul fixtures. Custom mounting adapters for other fixtures can be produced upon request. For more information, check out aquariumledmounts.com. Cande has now finished with his sculpture and is beginning to add the sand to the aquarium.
So we've reached that point in the aquarium setup that we are actually now able to start pumping water from the 100-gallon water container in the truck into the house, into the tank. And it's been a long day, but looks like a potentially great ending. So the Kessel 360Xs are now in. They are suspended on an aluminum rail. There are 4 of them. The advantage of the X's is they've got a little bit more color ability in them than the W's or the N's. The sand has caused the water to be hazy, but that's typical.
Yeah, just got to tighten down our mounts here and a couple other things to button up. set up the Kessel spectral controller and call it a night.
The tank is still filling up and the sump is just about full. We're marginally going to have enough water.
Leak check. And everything feels good. Dry. See the way I like it.
So this will be the ATO reservoir. It'll go in this cabinet here next to the aquarium. I've run the suction line through the side of it and all the way down to that fitting. It has a John Guess on it that kind of holds it in place so it'll stay in position. Now I'm going to take and hook it up to the Spectrapure peristaltic pump, or what we're going to call the ATO pump.
And as Cande and Scott's gopher, I do try to get involved when I can, but
He just wants the camera to see that he was doing something, huh, Scott?
That was exactly it too.
All he drilled was just one hole right there and oh, he brought the water in too.
I turned the pump on. I plugged that cord in.
Sounds about right.
you may notice that there's been no refrigeration chiller installed in this application. That's because we're going to be using fans to provide evaporative cooling, which I have found to be quite effective and cost-saving, equipment and operation-wise. The trade-off is a much greater amount of water is evaporated. As such, the float-controlled auto top-off system is more robust and instrumental in this application.
So the ATO pump is now hooked up to the reservoir, and it brings its water in, cable tied to the Mersey-Overflow pipe, and puts it into the sump right there. So Scott is working on getting all the, those are the floats that'll turn on and off the ATO.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, I have to shut the too high off because our sump level's too high. So I have to shut that switch off altogether.
And back there's the controller for the water pump. Up there's the ED8 for power. There's the GFO reactor.
Where's that Sharpie?
Working now on the heating end of it. So the Apex would control a Rainco digital thermostat, and that in turn will drive two titanium heater elements that'll sit in the sump. Here in Camarillo, it's much cooler than it is over in Thousand Oaks or the Valley. So in this particular system, we're not incorporating a refrigeration unit. We will be using fans for evaporative cooling, because I don't think we're going to have a heat problem. I really do think we're going to have a cold problem, hence an emphasis on the heating aspect. And again, there's two 200-watt titanium heater elements, and again, they'll be driven by that digital thermostat there.
Sharpie pen.
Yes, sir. All right, so what we're working on now is internal circulation, and this was with some Kessel nano streams. The water slowly...
Tunze nano streams.
Tunze, I'm sorry. Tunze.
Sorry, Roger.
Starting over. So we're working on internal circulation now, and that'll be with some Tunze nano streams. The water's clearing up, but there's one inside that end of the tank, and then there's another one over at this end of the tank. And what Scott is doing is mounting the controller there at the end, and we'll do the same thing down at this end. And again, that'll be internal circulation as opposed to
External.
filter circulation.
All right, so with the Kessel 360Xs, there's presently two ways to control them. You have the option of the spectral controller, or they recently released the Wi-Fi module. And at some point, this tank will probably switch over to the Wi-Fi module once they do the Apex integration. But for ease of use, the spectral controller is probably the easiest way to go when Jim comes to do maintenance. He can hit a button on there and bring up full power. One thing about the 360Xs versus the old 360WEs is I've added a couple extra channels in there. Now you have a ability to control the hyperviolet channel in addition to the white to blue shift, but you also have the ability to control a red channel and a green channel, so you can use those channels to effectively bring out colors in your corals that you wouldn't ordinarily see. So it's kind of a neat thing about the 360Xs that you didn't get with the 360Es. As many of you know, you see these corals in the ocean and very often they look drab. It's not until you put them under our artificial lighting that you really see some of these crazy colors. And having the ability to control the hyperviolet, a little bit of red or a little bit of green, will bring out colors in the pigments that you wouldn't ordinarily see. So it's a nice thing about the new 360X, plus you get that Kessel shimmer, which, if you're like me, I really like the shimmer that the Kessels bring. So we're going to get that set up and pretty much call it a night. We're just about done. We're in the home stretch.
And with all the equipment installed and the aquarium now running with water, it's time to replace the cabinet trim and facade back onto the face of the cabinet itself, which involves replacing a few screws and a few nuts, along with the actual cabinetry hardware.
It never ends.
And with the last door in place and the flick of a switch, the job is now completed.
All right, so we've got her all plumbed, apex all connected and set up. Just do the quick tour underneath. We've got our return pump plumbed in here, Apex EV832. We've got an RD 380 watt return pump in here. Our media reactor plumbed off a little manifold. Got our float switches for too high, too low, and then the ATO float switches. On the other side, we've got our drain line. We use the flexible hose. It made things a little bit easier. Just didn't have enough room in there for a union valve for the drain, so this will allow him to take the drain side off and vacuum in there if he needs to. We've got our emergency drain. We've got a gate valve on there that we use to silence the overflow. Allowed us to kind of close it a little bit and get a full siphon and shut it up real nice. And then if it ever backs up, we've got an emergency drain there as well. Other than that, obviously the plumbing in here is pretty simple. We've got leak detection on the drain side. We've got leak detection on the return pump side. And it's all programmed, so if a leak does occur, it'll tell us there's a leak on the drain side or a leak on the return side. Here we've got our Santa Monica Rain algae turf scrubber. Up under the cover here is a little waterfall style algae scrubber. There's LEDs built in here. It's not on yet. Jim's got to get the little pump to feed it, but it's all programmed, and it's also set up so that if the level ever gets too high in the sump, not only will the skimmer shut off, but so will the algae scrubber as well. Obviously we've got some filter socks there that'll help clean up any solids going through the water. We've got our ATO reservoir in here and an ATO pump. That's a little Spectra Pure liter meter pump. Those things are pretty much bulletproof and absolutely love them for ATO pumps. This here holds 25 gallons, so we'll have plenty of RODI top off water for evaporation. On the other side down here we have our Apex base unit. The dose will go in here, the DDR will go in here. We got the FMM module for the leak sensors. We've got a pile of cables there for the probes, but that was the best place to move them. The dual dosing reservoir will go in there when we set up the calcium and alkalinity solution, and eventually a trident will go in there as well. And that is it in a nutshell. Down below, up above, we have another EV8. We've got a Lunar Sim module. We've got a pair of the Lunar Sim LEDs. We've got our Kessel spectral controller. We've got one Tunze controller there. We've got another Tunze controller down on that side. We've got our aluminum extrusion with our Aquarium LED mounts, articulating mounts, and of course the Kessel 380s or whatever they are. It's got little,
360.
360.
360.
Yeah, 360X's. I'm getting the red lights in my mind apparently. It's been a long day. So that is it. We are done here. We shall keep moving forward, and I'm sure Jim is going to have some great updates on this tank as it settles in and he starts stocking the hell out of it.
And Cande's fantastic rock work.
Oh yeah, that can't.
If the
Can't
water
miss
was
that.
clearer, we could see it, but
yeah. I already got my mine's worth.
you did.
The little girl says she loves it. You hear me?
And I thought I'd slip in a view of the tank now that it's a number of months later so that you can see just how awesome the rock work in the tank is. And until we meet again, as always, keep moving forward.